Today's module is an overview of strategy and planning. In this module, we'll look at what exactly is strategy, and we'll also look at why strategy is needed. In this module, we'll also focus on learning with cases. In groups, you all will be required to work on 3 case studies for this class. So at the end of the module, we'll talk about case learning and what the case study requirements will be. Strategy has been defined as many things. But our term, strategy, actually comes from the Greek word strategos, which literally means general of the army. Each of the 10 Greek tribes would annually elect a strategos, and during battles, strategos would give strategic advice to the political ruler at the time about how to manage battles to win wars, rather than tactical advice about managing troops to win battles. From these early military roots, strategy has always been aimed at the big picture. The focus is on results or outcomes rather than products or outputs. Outputs are what we do and who we reach. Outcomes say what difference does it make what we do and who we reach. In the past, strategic planning has focused on outputs, even though the origins of strategy have dealt with outcomes. We've always been good at telling our clients, funders, and community partners what it is that we do, the services that we provide, how we're unique, and who we serve. So we've basically done a good job at describing and counting our activities, our outputs. But now we're being asked, what difference does it make? And this is the question about outcomes. And to achieve outcomes, we need strategies. It wasn't until about the early 20th century that the concept of strategy gained prominence in business. Early models of strategic planning reflected the hierarchical values and linear systems of traditional organizations. It was a very rigid process. This way of engaging in strategic planning was mainly promoted during the time of scientific management. Scientific management, also known as Taylorism, is a management theory that analyzes and synthesizes workflows. The main objective of scientific management is to improve economic efficiency, especially labor productivity. One of the earliest attempts to apply science to the engineering of management, scientific management, occurred during the Industrial Revolution. At this time, strategic planning was generally done by elite employees at the top of the organization's hierarchy. The structure was highly vertical and time-bound. There would be a certain time set aside to analyze the situation and then decide on the course of action. This would then result in a formal document. Once done, the actual work of implementation, which was considered a separate process, could begin. This approach, though, has been criticized for being too rational and not realistic enough given the unpredictability of 21st century competitive landscapes. Please click on the link above to watch a short video clip about scientific management. Now, although we saw earlier that strategy can often be defined in many ways, and that strategy is important to achieve outcomes, we still don't know exactly what strategy is. So the readings for this module should help you to understand that even without a formal definition, there are at least 5 ways that people implicitly tend to define strategy. In groups, you will work with several of your peers on a series of case reports. The case study method of teaching is often used in management education. and is quite different from most other traditional teaching methodologies. Unlike traditional lecture-based teaching, the case study method is an active learning method, which requires participation and involvement from students. In learning with cases, students must deal with the situation described in the role of the manager or the decision maker who's facing the situation. An important point to be emphasized is that there is no right or wrong answer to a case. A case is not a problem. A decision maker faced with the situation described in a case can choose between any number of alternative courses of actions. Your responsibility is to present and then ultimately defend the choice of action that your group has selected. Provided above are a series of tips for how to work through a case. Please review these tips carefully. Please keep in mind that there are different types of information that can be presented when writing your case report. There are facts, which are verifiable from several sources. There are inferences, which represent an individual's judgment in a given situation. There can be speculation, which is information that cannot be verified. And then there are also assumptions, which also cannot be verified, and assumptions are generally generated during analysis. Not all information is going to be equally valuable for managerial decision-making. Likewise, not all information will be equally valuable when writing your case report. The greater use of facts will make your argument stronger. You want to rely less on speculation and assumptions, and more on facts, and perhaps somewhat on inferences as well. You'll also want to be aware that there are different types of statements. There are is statements and ought statements. Is statements are descriptive statements, and they tell us whether something is true or false. Statements of fact. Prescriptive statements are ought statements, and they deal with values. Is statements are supported by research, whereas ought statements need supporting information as to why something ought to be. In your case reports, if you have prescriptive statements, be sure to substantiate those prescriptive statements with facts.